You're listening to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. I'm Allison Boyle, aka She Dreams of Alpine, and this is the show that's dedicated to all the adventurous spirits out there who have either been transformed by the outdoors or are interested in what it looks like to step into a new, adventurous, and courageous kind of identity in their life. It doesn't matter what your background is in the outdoors, what age you're starting at, or where you grew up. If you're curious about the outdoors and using adventure as a way to reinvent yourself, you're in the right place. I'll be sharing all kinds of personal adventure stories, lessons I've learned from the mountains, teaching what I know about the outdoors and leadership, and interviewing some amazing adventurous women all along the way. I've been coaching women on becoming safe, confident, and self-sufficient backpackers and leaders of their own adventurous lives since 2018, and I know exactly what big fears and self-doubts can pop up along the way. I have so much to share with you, so let's dive in. All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. Now, we just wrapped up what I call a trail series in February, where I actually took you behind the scenes on one of the trips that I went on in the Grand Canyon on the Escalante route that I did with my friends and I back in November of 2025. And I really hope that you enjoyed it and you got to really experience the joy and the adventure of the whole trail. It was such a beautiful route. And maybe it got you stoked about going to explore the Grand Canyon yourself. And right now, we are actually about to enter one of my favorite seasons of the year, and that is when we open up our once-a-year program called the Adventurous Reinvention Experience. Now, this program, the Adventurous Reinvention Experience, will be opening up at the end of this month. So we are in early March. We're going to open it around the end of March, early April. And so I got to thinking about what I wanted to be sharing with you guys this month as we gear up for this transformational season and this program. And here is what I thought was maybe most important to share with you all and something that has been on my mind. And that is the importance of adventure and aliveness in your life. So I don't know if you've been feeling it. I know that I have. The past couple of months of 2026 have already felt like a lot. There have been so many things going on in the world. There has been a lot of heaviness, a lot of confusion, some anxiety. I know that in January, I found myself personally over-consuming, like genuinely over-consuming. I was wasting hours on the couch catching up on the news, doom scrolling like Instagram, refreshing my feed, watching tons of updates on the news, reading comment sections, absolutely reading too much that I didn't need to be reading. And it left me feeling kind of frozen and angry. And I knew that that wasn't a particularly useful place for me to be at. And I also felt and saw myself sinking into this kind of like hopelessness, despair, and anxiety feeling. And I really remembered these feelings because even though it's actually quite a long time ago now, it doesn't feel like that long ago. I remember back when the pandemic first hit us it was around this time of the year, March of 2020. It was when the world seemed to shut down. No one knew what was going on. I remember being stuck in Texas. Michael and I had been living in our van full time, and we were in Texas at the time when everything the shit hit the fan kind of thing. And so we ended up being locked down with my family in our family home. And I remember during that time, I was over consuming the news at a fast pace and doom scrolling a ton. And my anxiety during that time period got so bad that I couldn't even breathe without noticing breathing. And breathing is something that we do just so effortlessly that we don't even think about. But my anxiety was to the point where my chest felt tight all the time. I'd wake up bracing myself for the day, and I had a really hard time going to sleep because I couldn't stop thinking about my breathing. And that's when I knew it was really bad because that's kind of how when my anxiety kind of reaches a tipping point, it manifests in my body really intensely. Either my eye twitches a lot and constantly, or I feel it in my breath. So I personally remember how powerless that I felt in that moment. So when I noticed myself kind of sliding back into those tendencies and toward that state this past January, where I was just glued to my phone, absorbing everything, feeling extra heavy, feeling stuck, I knew immediately that I needed to break up that loop, right? I know for me personally, it is not useful for me to live my life in frozen mode or in fear mode. And I have learned that over the years. So I stopped tuning into the noise quite as much, not completely because I still want to be somebody who is informed, but I dialed it back a ton. And I thought of all of you. I thought about how I'm probably not the only one going through it. I know I'm not the only one going through it. And I even wrote a post on social media at the end of January that was part value statement and part a reminder of why our joy, why adventure, and why movement are still so important, not just during hard times, but like all the time. And I wanted to bring that message here to the podcast, just in case you didn't see that post, if you have been stuck in it. I just wanted to bring that here to be in your ear, to give you permission to lean into joy and adventure. So at the end of January, I had to ask myself, what does it actually look like for me to be living in accordance to my values right now? What does it look like for me to stay informed without being consumed by everything? What does it look like for me to do good in the world, to contribute, to add value? And I knew really clearly it was not me being frozen on my couch for hours doom scrolling on Instagram. That is not my work. I don't think that's what any of us are meant to do with our time here, with our one precious life that we get to live. My work is to help women be more in their power. My work is to help women feel strong in their bodies, to feel clearer in their minds, to feel capable of creating their own safety and agency, whether that is on the trail or off the trail. And my work is to help women not to shrink themselves. And that is why I am recording this podcast today, because if I needed that reset, I have a feeling that some of you might too. And I personally believe that when we as women build strength and we build self-trust, we show up more powerfully in our lives, our values, and even our activism. And we cannot create meaningful change or powerful change in our lives or even in the world when we are frozen in fear and mentally exhausted. And I know that there's this strange tension that can creep in when the world feels really heavy. And I know that many of my clients have found themselves feeling a little bit guilty about starting the new year and starting and talking about things like adventure and travel and their backpacking goals, almost as if is this okay for me to want this kind of joy and these goals in my life right now with everything going on? Is it okay for me to be talking about training for a backpacking trip or even being excited about an adventure that I have planned? Is it okay to invest in myself? Is it okay to talk about future joy? Is it okay to talk about future adventures? And I know that it all can start to feel really frivolous and meaningless or even selfish. Maybe the right thing to do is to pause your goals and just to absorb everything. But I also know that pausing, absorbing everything, freezing our lives and our joy, it really only, the only thing that really does is shrink us. And shrinking us has never made us safer as women. Shrinking has never made us more powerful. Shrinking has never changed the systems that we're frustrated with. But the things that do help make change and powerful change and make us safer and make us more powerful is being in our capability and being grounded in our body and knowing how to regulate ourselves when things are hard, and doing things like stepping into joy and movement and adventure. So when you train your body, you are not escaping reality. You're actually working and building on resilience. When you are learning outdoor skills, you are not escaping and ignoring the world around you. You're actually embodying and practicing everyday courage. When you build strength and skill and self-trust, you do not just benefit yourself. You become the kind of woman who can think clearly under pressure, who can show up as a leader and lead instead of being stuck and frozen, who can stand up for her own values instead of complying, who can stay really present instead of shutting down. This is how resilient and adventurous women are made. And these kinds of women, the ones that choose to stay in their joy, in adventure, building their courage, building their strength, these kinds of women change things. So staying engaged with your life and your goals and your voice is not a betrayal of your values. And in a system that does actually rely on fear and silence, especially from women, that kind of engagement with your life is very revolutionary. So this is why seeking out your own joy, learning to really and truly feel alive to your life, this is why it's so powerful. Aliveness is something I'm going to be talking a lot more about this month, but aliveness is not pretending things aren't hard in our lives. It's about staying connected to ourselves and our values inside of the hard. It's about feeling grief and anger and fear and still choosing to act in integrity with ourselves and still choosing movement and still choosing our personal power and courage. Your body still needs movement. Even when the world feels heavy, your body needs movement. It doesn't need more doom scrolling. It needs breath. It needs movement. It needs time outside. It needs many reminders of how capable you are and how much, personal power you do have, and you are not helpless. Being frozen and pausing your life and pausing your joy and your goals doesn't really help anyone. It just disconnects you from your power. And I am not available for that anymore. That does not align with my values, and it doesn't align with the work that I'm trying to do here at She Dreams of Alpine with my clients in our programs like the Backpacking Badass program or the Adventurous Reinvention Experience. The world does not benefit from women who are smaller and quieter and more disconnected from themselves. It benefits from women who are strong, who are regulated, who trust themselves, who feel alive. And that is the work that I care about. And adventure in specific for me is one way that we can really engage with our lives and really build that self-trust and regulation and aliveness. And for me, it has never been about escaping my life. It's always been about engagement and aliveness. Like the mountains they're not a place where you go to avoid reality, even though it might in a way be a place where you're like, okay, I'm going to go do something fun, but it's not avoiding reality. It's really bringing you face to face with yourself, who you are. It's bringing you face to face with discomfort and learning how to navigate discomfort, give you tools for doing that in a positive way, how to grow and bringing you face to face with your fear and your courage, with leadership and self-trust. The mountains wake you up. And I believe right now, aliveness and adventure are more important than ever. So that is why this summer and this next season feels especially important to me. In our upcoming Adventurous Reinvention Experience container that we will be hosting this summer, it will kick off in May, we will be building something very intentional. It will be a space where we don't just use adventure to escape our lives. We actually use it to step more fully into our lives, to feel more alive to our lives, whether that's on the trail or off the trail. And this summer, we're actually creating that feeling of aliveness on purpose, right? And we're growing together. This experience is a 4-month, it's an intimate coaching container where we work deeply on identity evolution, self-trust, courage, and then we get to take that into the mountains together in the Eastern Sierra on a shared actual backpacking adventure together with other women. So I think this is just such a special experience. I will be guiding you through my very special process, my reinvention process. And then we get to also have this kind of shared backpacking adventure together where we really get to embody this work out on the trail together and really feel alive. And you get to meet other women, be in community with other women. We get to have a shared challenge together. And I believe that shared challenges just really change you. And you are going to prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort, and that will create some meaningful shifts in your lives. And it's such a powerful container, and I cannot wait to tell you even more about it. So over the next several weeks, I will be sharing more about this opportunity to join me and my team in our 2026 Adventurous Reinvention Experience. There are only 36 spots in this cohort. It is a very limited experience that we run only once a year. So I'll be sharing some interviews with my past clients that have done this experience. I'll be sharing some behind the scenes. I'll be talking more about what it actually looks like to live in your values without collapsing under the weight of everything going on in your life, how to reinvent yourself, what the summer is going to look like, all the things we'll be doing together. But essentially, my intention for you is to have this summer be something where you experience more joy, you experience more alignment in your life, more aliveness, and especially more adventure, even in the midst of an imperfect and chaotic world. Because I know that the world is better when you are fully living in your life, when you are more alive than ever, when you are growing and you are expanding your possibilities, you're knowing how to show up with courage, and it's especially amazing when you get to do that with other people. And if adventurous has felt frivolous lately, I want you to consider, as we close out this episode, that maybe it's not. Maybe it's training. Maybe it's how you stay awake. Maybe it's how you refuse to shrink. Maybe it's where you find joy. Maybe it's where you find mental clarity and peace. And maybe it's exactly how you stay strong even in the toughest of seasons. And I don't think we're ever meant to shrink ourselves. I think right now, this moment is our moment to choose aliveness, together, and shared adventure. And I cannot wait to get started. And if you want to learn more about how to join us inside of the Adventurous Reinvention experience this summer, be sure to join us on our waitlist at shedreamsofalpine.com/ARE, and you can learn even more about the program before we open the doors in April. All right, I hope this episode gave you the boost of encouragement that you needed to get unstuck, to get back on track with your goals and your joy and your aliveness. And I cannot wait to share more with you. I will see you next week. Bye. Hey, I wanted to thank you real quick for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you love this episode and you want deeper support in becoming a safe, confident, and self-sufficient hiker and backpacker, then head over to shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist to learn more about our Backpacking Badass coaching program, where I teach you absolutely everything you need to know to be self-reliant on the trails and stop waiting around on others for the adventure invite. So I'd love to help you more in your journey of stepping into your adventurous identity, and that program is the absolute best place for us to start working together. So again, that's shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist, and you can learn all about it there. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you get to spend some time outside this week, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Bye.